times. If you know you look good, clap 4 times. All right. Listen, I will forever do that because it works, right? Where did we learn that? Some of y'all elementary school? Yeah, it works every time. Y'all good. I love y'all. I love y'all. How's everybody feeling? Y'all feeling okay? Y'all still got energy for the rest of this information that's about to be dropped? Y'all been receiving these gems, internalizing these gems? Okay, good, good, good. I love that. Well, listen, here we are all family. We are all family. So if you feel comfortable, please move down. Get a little closer. Because in the house of the Lord, no, I'm playing. I'm a pastor by trade. I'm not. But I feel led by the Spirit to usher in a spirit of excellence, right? Right? Yeah? I see some head nods. Okay. I'm gonna try this. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Okay, all right. I like that cooperation, the call and the response. Yeah, my people. I love it. Listen, next talk is getting ready to start, not too far from now. In a little bit, we are going to start. The Barrett Davis talk is going on right now, but all of you, y'all over here with me, because y'all some real ones, right? We're going to have a good time over here. We're going to have a great time. We have an amazing panel coming to speak for you guys in reference to HR. And, yeah, they will be here shortly. So relax. I got a little present for y'all at the end of this as well. So I'm going to need all cooperation from everybody in this room. Are y'all with that? Y'all going to cooperate? Yes. Okay, I see some head nods. I love it. But it's a great surprise. I think you'll love it. I think you will.
Fill in these seats. If you can, if you feel comfortable, we're a family here. We're a family. Matter of fact, let's do something. Look to your neighbor. Look to your left and look to your right. Is that somebody that you know? If it's not, okay. If it is, perfect. But if it isn't, look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm glad you're here. Look to your other direction and say, neighbor, we getting some real good information. Now look at me. Everybody look at me and say, MC, you're doing an all right job. I like y'all. I like y'all. So we are getting ready to start here very shortly. We have the amazing panelists here with me, getting ready to call them up. Listen, we gotta let y'all know that they are giants in this space. So we have to properly introduce them with a little bit of zhuzh in there, a little bit of zhuzh to make sure that we all understand. When they come up here, we gotta celebrate them because they're taking time out of their day and their schedule to be here with us to impart knowledge that people probably pay thousands for, right? So let's make sure when they come up, we give them a resounding round of applause. If you feel led to step into the aisle and do a praise dance, you can. I will not turn you away because the doors of the church are open. Is there one? Is there one? Okay, amen, amen. Let the church say amen. Amen. Yes, Lord. Okay, as they finish up, I'll ask a few questions just to get a feeler out. Who is working outside of tech? By show of hands, who has a job outside of tech right now? Okay. So you guys are looking to pivot into tech or just here for professional development? Pivoting into tech? Any others pivoting into tech? Okay. Who is currently in tech and looking to elevate to a new position? Show of hands. Okay. Awesome. And who's just here for the vibes and the good energy? Okay, I love it. I love the honesty. I absolutely love the honesty. Do you feel that the summit has been helpful for you to accomplish all of those goals that you are looking for? Yes, perfect. Have you guys had the opportunity to network with one another and these speakers and these panelists? Have you been able to do that successfully? You have. Perfect. Are you going to be here at the next one that they have next year? All right. Did y'all go to the turn up last night? Because y'all a little tired. I heard a bunch of yeses. Okay. I've been turning up. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the panelists are here. I mean, they've been here. But, so starting off, we have Dr. Arnisha Arrington. She's been in HR for the past 30 years, and she has 2 beautiful grandbabies. And y'all, she don't look a day over 30. God is good, okay? God is amazing. She looks amazing, okay? Next, we have Amber Chatham. She is the senior HR business partner for a healthcare system. She just did karaoke for the first time this year, and she cried. I love it. Next, we have Pravin Powell. He is the founder of Black in HR. He moved to LA with no job, hoping to work for the Lakers. It didn't work, y'all. But he's the founder and he's the CEO of founder of Black in HR. Next, we have Sam Benkole. Sam, where you from? We're gonna talk later. He's the senior manager at Amazon Staffing and Operations. He has visited 3 of the 7 wonders of the world. And last and certainly not least, we have Sierra Parks. She is the HR consultant and she is bilingual. And she has lived abroad at 4 separate times. I'm gonna pick your brain later too. Y'all make some noise for these panelists as they come before you.
Hey, y'all. That was weak. There we go. Y'all had a little more energy last night. Thank you all for being here today. It's really, really great to have this much Black excellence in one venue. And I want to say thank you all for spending your time to come and chat with us, right? This is very special for us all. So just because that was not necessarily the order that we're sitting on the stage, I'm Sierra Parks, HR consultant, Black in HR educator, trainer. I'll allow the rest of the panel to introduce themselves as well.
I'm Prathan Powell, President and CEO of the Black in HR. I have over 10 years in tech as well. Worked with Google, Netflix, Amazon, Instacart. And so although I'm not a tech professional, I did work in HR supporting tech professionals. So I have a lot of information and that we can hopefully provide value to you guys.
And I'm Arnisha Arrington. I am the Executive Vice President of People Operations and Culture at Ebony and Jet Magazine. I have not worked in tech, but I have worked in some of the other media companies such as Revolt and BET. And I've been doing this a very long time, so I'm looking forward to the conversation.
I'm Sam Bankole. I have been in the space of tech and also retail logistics for over 20 years now. Started my career in Target for about 7 years, and then Amazon. Currently, I'm a senior manager in operations and also staffing, so talent acquisition. And I've been in that role for about 10 years in different organizations with that company. So super excited to be here and share some gems.
Hey y'all, I'm Amber Chatham, Senior HR VP for Baylor Scott & White, which is the healthcare system in Texas. I have been in HR for probably about 13 years now. I also have a little bit of tech experience. Not much, so I just really try to stick with HR. But I'm also a coach and consultant for the Black in HR. Happy to be here. Quick side note, I am the one who did karaoke for the first time this year and cried, so I don't like being on stage and I don't know how to hold this thing, but I'm here.
Perfect. So I'm assuming you guys are all here today because you want to know what to do when things go wrong, right? When it is that time and they're saying we are going to start making separations, layoffs, rifts, terminations, walking people out, quickly cutting off people's systems, whatever you want to call it, you know when it's coming down. And if you've been on the other side of it, you know it's not that great. So today we want to make sure you guys know what to do and how to navigate that for you. So we'll get going. So the first question that we're going to chat through today is negotiations. And we want to know, what are the must-ask questions when you're offered a severance package? And so just so that we're all on the same page, if you've not been through a RIF, a severance package is what they give you when you leave an organization or exit it from an organization. And essentially, it's a soft landing is what you'll hear it referred to. Essentially, we want to give you some money to go and go quietly. This document usually contains tons of legal jargon and is very well written to make sure that you do what they want you to do in exchange for this money. So it's very important that you read this document before you sign it. So that's just to set us up with what a severance is, and so we want to make sure we're asking the questions along the way. Prathan, what might be some of those questions?
Yeah, I mean, you want to know when you need to sign the severance. I think that's going to be important because it's important that you say, okay, I want to review this. Maybe you're going to work with your legal partner. Maybe you're going to work with someone who has experience negotiating severances. Don't just sign this document without taking the time to see how it will benefit you, what you're forfeiting as far as from a right standpoint. And so knowing the timeline as far as when you need to return this document is going to be critical for you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And sometimes that's how they get you. They want you to sign it right away, and you don't understand the rights that you are losing. But also you want to know, like, look, when you first get it, you can look at, like, how much are they offering you? You know, those are the questions. And if you can, most of the time they're offering you like 4 weeks if you're new to the organization, or some companies you could have been there longer. But see if you can negotiate it. Like if they give you 4 weeks, ask for 8 weeks or ask for 10 weeks. But don't just take what they give you.
Additional thing would just be keep an attorney with you in those spaces. There are a lot of technical things that you might not be familiar with, so I would always recommend have a peer within your network from an attorney space to take a look at it to make sure you're covered.
Also, there's a benefit here where if you are at an organization that has an EAP or an employee assistance program, the lawyer that you use to look at the severance agreement could be free, right? And their obligation is to you, not to the organization. So if you don't have a lawyer in your Rolodex and you can't afford the hourly rate for an attorney, utilize what you already have. Any other thoughts on must-ask questions?
Yeah, I don't really have a must-ask question, but what I will say is take your time and breathe. Don't let them pressure you, right? They're going to want to kind of pressure you into hurry and getting it signed, and take your time. I mean, you know, several of us on stage here have been through this, and I'll be the first one to say, I conducted layoffs, issued severance packages, and then when I got my own, I didn't know what the hell to do. I just went home and cried. I am a crybaby, obviously, but I just went home and cried and didn't even take the advice that I would give other people. So my first piece of advice is take it, sit on it, and don't be so quick to get it executed.
And then from a negotiation standpoint, always start high, because you know what's gonna happen. When they come back to the table, they'll say, hey, we offered you 4, you asked for 6, we're at 5, right? Always ask for significantly more so that we meet at a number that's a little bit more agreeable to what you're trying to get to. And then if they say no, they say no, right? Like you always should ask, just like Arnisha said, but you just wanna make sure you're in the right space. So good stuff there. Next question for you. How can you assess if a severance offer is fair? And I'm gonna go back to Dr. Arnisha.
Yeah, so that's always a good question. And it also depends on the company, actually, because sometimes companies have a policy already of what they will get. And I'll use an example because before Viacom turned into Paramount, Viacom had and I can say this, but they had a severance policy that you would get 2 weeks per year. And they maxed you out at, I want to say 26 weeks or something like that. So I always just, even though it's a policy, I don't necessarily care about policy when it comes to me negotiating. I know that is what you tell everyone, but if it's 26 weeks, like Sierra said, I'm most likely going to ask for 52 weeks. That is just me. But you have to negotiate better terms based on your life and your circumstances.
Yeah, I want to add to that. So sometimes you can find yourself in what is called a mutual termination situation. Maybe you were part of, maybe there was some complex issue that happened at work, an investigation, and you're mutually parting ways with the organization. So if it's not necessarily you were laid off, you're leaving with some type of exit package. That's a phenomenal time to get more value out of that, especially if there was a policy violation, you were not wrong, but you decided within the organization there's a decision to move your role or to eliminate your role. Maybe earlier, you can still use that as leverage and as part of the question to potentially get more out of that severance itself. So make sure you are able to articulate why this could be a potential risk to the organization if they're not willing to play ball with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and most of the time, the companies, they don't want to go through the legal battles, so you should take advantage of that, but they will if they have to. But most of the time, that's not what they want to do.
The entire purpose of a severance is to avoid legal action, right? And so you have all of the bargaining chips on the front side of signing the document. After you sign the document, we're not talking to you about anything. That's done.
Absolutely.
All right. I saw a question. I'm gonna take a quick. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So we're talking about negotiating severance. Like, what do you use to negotiate? So I heard legal things, but like, what if there was no legal thing? What if it was just like you got laid off, like it was a restructure, you got laid off as part of like a larger layoff? Like, what would you use to negotiate? I just recently went through this. I negotiated a little bit, but like, how could I have gotten up?
I mean, so you always start off, and Prathan, you can chime in. You always start off with what they are offering. So that's your base right there. And you base that on you, your living situation, your lifestyle, what have you. But the base is right there because that's what they offered you, right? And so if you can get double that or triple that, that's good. But if usually it's based on weeks. Sometimes you will have to calculate the amount, but they might say weeks or months or something like that. But it's based on what you need. You have to negotiate what you need.
I guess my thing is like, do you have to have justification for asking for what it is?
No, you don't.
Like, hey,
Because they didn't have,
I look good,
exactly.
this, and then
I mean, it's not necessarily a justification because you may feel like they didn't have justification for laying you off, right? Most of the time they don't. They may say they do, but they don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and also you have to think about the conversation. You can't go in there with a pitchfork. Right. You know, you have to be tact. I know we're going to talk more about the politics of these type of situations. Ideally, you would work with a coach. You work with someone who's on this panel who's probably negotiated severances. We've written them. But a coach can say, hey, let's sit down and talk about what impact you brought to the business. What are some circumstances that they need to be aware of? HR may not know that there was some things that you were dealing with your boss. That's true. These are real things. And I worked on the employee relations side, so I would investigate workplace concerns. And I can't tell you how many times someone was going through a PIP, they were getting pipped out, and they said, hey, by the way, my manager made some comments about me based on my protected status, race, gender, et cetera. That freezes it right there. And you may still get laid off, but we can then have another conversation about how to make this more equitable for you. So this is why I say, don't go into these conversations freewheeling it. You have to say, I need to have the information, but I need to have the right conversations, and a coach will help you. Black in HR, we're a coaching platform, and all of our leaders are HR leaders. We are here to provide that value to you, to teach you how to have that conversation through role plays, through mock conversations, and to review your severance and say, okay, this doesn't look right. We have attorneys within Black and HR who can review your severance and say, here's the right information that we need to be, here's your counter offer. So just don't think that, you can go into this office or into this conversation without having your ducks in a row. Make sure you're well informed so you can get the best outcome.
So true. And what really happens here is that you get to tell a story when you work with a coach, right? And so as opposed to going back in and saying, hey, I want the 52 weeks, let me tell you why I want the 52 weeks. And let me help persuade you into understanding why you also might want to give me these 52 weeks before we have to get legal involved. All right. So some other things. So Sam, how does the timing of your departure affect severance offers? And is there an ideal time to negotiate?
Yeah, so that's a good one. I always tell folks, if you look at the past few years, right, probably since 2022, we've seen kind of different companies in tech, et cetera, go through layoffs. So it's nothing new. So I always recommend to mentees and folks in my circle and my teams as well that now is the time to start looking at those negotiations. Be aware of it, right? So you're not going to role reduction right now or a layoff right now, but those things are quite common in our industry. So this is the time for you to start looking at within your company, what does a current negotiation look like, right? In the most recent role reduction or layoffs that your company had, look into that. You can partner with your local HR in current state right now and look at what that looks like, right? So you have an idea, at least for a baseline. Also tap into your networks, not just your company, right? You might have peers, you might have family members, mentors, et cetera, who have had friends go through this process. So I always say start with that. And then when it comes down to the negotiation standpoint, to what a lot of my peers talked about, different things matter to different people, right? So your package could be, you could look at maybe weeks of pay. You could look at a bonus structure. Maybe you have stocks that are vested in the future and you want to stick around for that, right? Is it healthcare that you want? Maybe you want to have, maybe for you, healthcare for your family is more important maybe than pay. So looking at what matters to you and being very specific on that and get educated on it so that way when it does come around, you're a lot more prepared. Again, we talk about having an attorney to really help you, but negotiation ideas should start now because it is something that's happening across different industries, so be prepared for it.
Yeah, and I want to add something. The best possible scenario you could have is having an offer when you're already getting laid off. Because what this does is it gives you a lot more, you can operate from a position of power. You're not from you're from an abundance mindset and not scarcity. So let's just say, for example, you know there are layoffs happening on your team, right? And if you're smart, you would have been already in the market at all times. You should already be applying. I apply for jobs all the time. No matter where I'm working, I'm in new hire and orientation, I'm applying for jobs. Just because you want to keep yourself, this is what we talk about in Black in HR. We're saying, hey, you owe it to yourself to make sure that you are getting the best possible situation for you and your family. So if your team is being impacted, you're hearing layoffs are happening, let's just say you get an offer from another company. You get to double dip because the new company, you have a job, right? They don't need to know you're getting laid off. And that means you now have a better way to negotiate a signing bonus with the new company. They want to take you from Amazon, but you're at Google, right? Or vice versa, or whatever. And then if you're getting laid off from the other company, now you can negotiate your severance to get the things that you're looking for. Maybe you want a title that's more reflective of the job you want going forward. My first time I was laid off, and I remember this happening, it came out of nowhere. And this was my first time experiencing this, but I already had a job lined up at Coca-Cola. And I was just about to resign that day. I got laid off that day. Now that's great. For me, if I had opened my mouth too quickly, I would have lost out on the severance, which was, 8 weeks of pay. But I was able to take that. I was like, let me go on vacation first. And then I had Coca-Cola give me a bonus. So, these are the things we're saying. When you are when you're understanding the tea leaves that's happening in your organization, in the industry itself, don't sit here thinking it can't be you, because it can. It doesn't matter how good you are, how amazing you are. It's not about that. It's about other things that you may not be aware of. And if you take the time to say, I want to keep myself in the market, if a layoff happens, you find yourself in a layoff and you have some irons in the fire, you can make that, push that job ahead. You can say, hey, I have offers that I'm happening, and I want to make sure I'm getting the best offer on both ends. So just want to be thoughtful with that.
Oh, y'all got questions? Go for it.
Yeah, so you're an entrepreneur, right?
I am.
So how important do you think it is for people to begin to explore whether they have entrepreneurial potential within themselves, and how early should they begin to invest in that for moments like this as well?
Great question. And I remember this. So I founded Black in HR back in 2017. And at the time, I was in Portland, Oregon. I didn't see many Black HR leaders, and I was at Nike at the time. And so I got on GroupMe. Everybody was on GroupMe at that time. So we started a GroupMe, and from there it grew. And when I started Netflix in 2021, and if anybody works at Netflix, you guys know how the compensation is absolutely insane. I said, I want my business to make as much as this, right? I've been through a layoff before. I knew what it felt like, but I didn't want to be in a situation where if Netflix let me go, that I couldn't keep that lifestyle. And I pushed myself, and that's what I did. I did my job. I didn't use my work computer to do anything for Black in HR.
No, really though.
Yeah. Don't
really?
do that. Yeah, don't do that because
Don't
you
do
can. That belongs to the company now, right? So I didn't use my work computer. I didn't take meetings in the middle of the day because teammates will hate. They'll try to book a session with you to see if you'll answer, and if you do, that means you're working. No, can't catch me slipping. Like you do the right thing, but you build your business at night. So I was laid off from Netflix last year in October. Everyone knows the media and entertainment industry, writer's strike and everything. And I want to say I got 4-month severance. But it didn't change my lifestyle because I had already prepared for that for 2 years. So if you are going to be leveraging your high value skills, you guys are engineers, tech professionals, figure out a way to start consulting and don't name it after yourself. Don't do that. Because you may need that to replace a job for a period of time. So let's just say you're an engineer and you want to, or something, and you want to do a consulting firm. don't name it John's Engineering Firm, because you may need that to be a job until you can find a new one. But if it's named after you, how much credibility do we have that you actually did the things you said you did?
Yeah.
So be very smart about it when you're doing consulting. Don't use your work computer. Don't tell your coworkers. Don't share your ideas. Trademark your ideas. Get the proper contracts. Work with Black in HR. We got all this stuff. We can help you guys.
And let me piggyback off of that. And yes, please, I mean, you all really, really need to look into Black in HR. It is, and I consider myself of that, and I am one of the elite members of Black in HR.
Elite.
Yes, it is very helpful, very helpful. But I wanted to piggyback off of what he said. When I was at BET, I did 2 stints at BET. I left and then came back. Why, I don't know. Don't ask the questions, but I did. I left and came back. And the second time I left, I went to Revolt. I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. I worked very closely with you all, know who, right? We're not gonna say the name, but worked very closely. And then he hired this CEO who wanted to just bring in all of her own people. No problem, that's what they do. I know the game. But when I had left BET, all the executives there were like, Arnisha, who is going to help us negotiate our contracts? So what I did was I started my company as soon as I left BET. And I worked with them, like he said, after hours, because I'm telling you, people would try to catch you slipping, but I worked with them after hours. And from then on, I built my company in 2018 until now. So even when I take on roles, they know that I have a company, right? And so I say that to say, I never wanted to be in a situation where I get laid off again, and I didn't know what to do, how I was going to take care of my family and my, my kids. So your question, what you were saying is, when do you know? You know, but what I also want you guys to know is that social media will have you all thinking that you can be an entrepreneur and make $100,000 in a week. Right? Like, I mean, and I'm not saying that it cannot happen, but it doesn't have to happen often. So I would just say, use your 9 to 5 to fund your business.
Spot on there. A couple of other entrepreneurial tips here. So I also own my own consulting firm and built it just the same way, right? At night, slowly building, taking clients on the side in the weekends. And one of the things I think is really important for everyone to understand here is that when you start this process, at some point, if your side business is going well enough, you are going to have to make a break and leave that organization because you're going to want to fund your own dream and follow your own passion, right? The other thing I want you to consider here is you can leverage your day job, your 9 to 5 title to really push your business. Correct. Right? So when you think about all of the companies that we have behind us, when I now walk into a room, or Prathan walks into a room, Sam, Amber, Arnisha walks into a room, what do you immediately say? Oh, wow. Right? You come from one of those big companies. You surely can help me. And so now your clout and credibility is so much further along based off who they know you worked for before you got to them.
That's facts. Like, I name drop. So
all the time.
Me too. I mean, I can't name drop the other one anymore, but, I name drop too.
Yeah, but she's right. I mean, obviously, if your current employer, don't name drop them, right? Because you don't know how that can get back. But if you've boomeranged around, if you've been, in different organizations, that's part of your credibility in entering the market. You still are competing with other people who are consulting like you. But it is a slow grind. But if you do it while you have a job, it's not like you're eating off of your business, right? You can let your business grow. You can get an opportunity to go with speaking conferences and become more visible to where at some point your business is doing better than your day job. You have to decide, am I going to continue to make someone else rich or myself? But it's not an overnight thing. TikTok can't get you there. And I'm talking about what you guys would do, consulting, I'm saying. So just invest in yourself at all times, and when that time is right, you need to make that decision.
And if you have a good relationship with your leadership, and this is truly dependent upon where you are in the organization. So if you are close or sitting very close to the C-suite, you can go to your CEOs, your COOs and say, hey, I have a business, I'm starting a business, I'm launching a business. And if you have that relationship, they will help you. I have had past CEOs send me customers because they know the quality and caliber of my work. So those people become your feeders for your own business if you have that relationship. Now, that's not for everybody, right? Don't go start telling your business if it's not going to work that way. But it does have the opportunity to do that for you. That's a good question. You got the entrepreneurs going with that one. You saw that? Right. All right, so we want to move to politics and navigating politics upon your departure. So the first question here is, how can you protect your reputation and relationships when leaving a position under difficult circumstances? So we'll start here. We'll start with P, and then we'll go to Sam, Amber, and we'll close with Arnisha on that one.
The best thing I can tell you is your severance may have a clause that you can't say negative things about your organization. So that's step one. You don't want to go on TikTok, go on IG, bad mouthing your company, and then they take your severance, and then now you're taking an L, right? So,
P, let me pause right there. I got to pause you right there. Because you also go on Glassdoor the day you got laid off and start writing stuff about the company. We know it's you. We can't see, right? I can't see who wrote it, but I know because you just submitted your grievance the same words to me via email. Don't do that, right? That will void your severance. Go ahead, Pete.
no, she's right. Layoffs happen. Getting terminated happens. It is what it is. It doesn't do you any good trying to go out and badmouth the company. If you have something negative to say, take it to the EOC, right? Take it to an employment attorney. If there's going to be some tangible...
That's petty cakes.
Right. If there's going to be a tangible benefit that you think you can get from it, but you're not getting anything from going out to do that, and you can absolutely void your severance. You can lose all that money simply by talking too early or talking too much.
Yeah, so I think that's a fair call around protecting reputation, right? I always start with saying, number one, your tribe professionally is something you need to tap into, right? You have to be smart about it to the point about speaking about the negativity of it. You have to understand who's your ally in your organization. That is extremely important, right? You might have some cultural gaps where, based on the difficult circumstances you're dealing with, you might have some folks who might not be on your team, but know who's on your team. Know who those key allies are. It's very important that you also communicate that if you feel comfortable. So I always say, closed mouths don't get fed, and no one can help you if they don't know they need help, right? So from an ally standpoint internally, right, what you feel comfortable with. So I always say mentors are always big ones that you can communicate with about what's going on. And these folks can also help you, right, in other buildings or other rooms that you might not be in, even through the severance process. So I would say, rely on your internal contact that you really believe are your allies and your tribe, and tap into that in terms of aid that you need during that place. And those folks can also help you protect your reputation when you're not there.
Okay, so I'm just going to keep it a little bit real here. I don't have allies at work. Everybody is an enemy.
How you really feel, Amber? Cut that from the footage.
So,
Go ahead.
yes. So I really can't take credit for that. Black and HR taught me that, but I will use that moving forward, yes. And so what I say is, I go to work, do my job, drink my water, mind my business, get my check, go home. That is it. I don't do anything else. And so even in a situation, like we've been talking about layoffs, I was laid off. I was the HR person. I was an HR department of one, conducted everybody else's layoff, and then turned around and got my own. I just packed up my stuff and I just went on home, right? Because what good is that going to do you? You walk out the door acting a damn fool. What is that going to do for you? It's not going to do anything, and it's going to, like you said, hurt your credibility. It's going to basically, it could blackball you from whatever industry you're in.
They will blackball you,
yes.
Tim.
There are a lot of reasons why you should just act like you got some sense, go on home. That's it. that is my advice. You're not going to get anything out of it. Yes, you're upset. Yes, you're frustrated. You want to vent, but to Sam's point, find your tribe, find your people. My people ain't at my job, but I'll call somebody over here, and I'll vent to them and find an ally here, find a mentor here to move forward and get that out. Other than that, do your job, go home. That's it.
Spot on. Let's talk a little bit about references, right? So the severance is coming, the layoff is coming. What's next, right? How do I make sure someone will say good things about me from ideally this big name, this big brand, to help me leverage that into the next role? We'll start with you.
Yeah, I think where a lot of people go wrong is they just put names on a piece of paper without even speaking to the person that they...
your auntie name?
Yes. Whomever you put on that paper, I think it's really good for you to walk through what you are applying for, what they should or what they are going to say, and just keep it relevant, right? You don't need to go into a lot of details. Just stick to the questions that they are going to ask. But I don't think that a lot of you all know it's your auntie, like Sierra said. But you just have to make sure that whoever your reference is, they know that this is coming. A lot of times I've done reference checks where they were like, who? What was their last name? So just at least make sure that the person knows that they are a reference for you.
I'd also say from a reference standpoint, especially during layoffs, extremely important in this day and age to be specific on what you need, right? So if you're asking someone for a reference, you're saying, hey, I've applied to a role in Amazon. A lot of folks will say, hey, can you put in a word for me, right? You want to be very specific. What exactly do you need, right? I'd recommend on ChatGPT, you can make a template, right, of your short bio for yourself, right, of who you are, your experience in a quick summary, and then send it to that reference. So that way, they're doing the minimal work. You essentially want to make sure it's simply extremely easy for them to help you in this process, right? Because you're navigating different industries, navigating different contacts. So make it easy and be very specific. I have this role. I spoke to this recruiter. I need your help telling them about my experience. Here's my experience. They can forward that for you, right? So very important that you have actionable items for your references as you navigate.
And the dates, too.
Yeah.
And remember that no one will give out salary information anymore. So just want you guys to know if you want to.
One thing I want to say this. You build your references when you have a job, when you don't need it. We talk about this often in Black in HR. Your goal should be to help other people when you don't need it, right? Because when the layoff comes for you, you need to be able to, you should say, I have 10 people that I know I can reach out to that can give me an interview this week, right? And I know when I left Netflix, and we did a clubhouse on this. When I was laid off, I could easily reach out to thousands of Black in HR members and say, hey, who has this? But I always give out. Whenever there's a role at Netflix, I don't ask questions about your background. Listen, I saw this role that I want to apply for Netflix. All right, I'll take your resume. Here's a recruiter. And if you get the job, you get the job. I don't have to vet you, determine if you're a good candidate or not. It's not my job. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to open that back channel and then introduce you to the recruiter by passing information to you. So when it's my turn, I would have built that, that equity, right? To where when it's my turn to reach out for other people, they will say, Prathan's a giver. He's someone that he's helping other people. And that's as important. So you guys want to make sure that your references are people that you've helped in the past, so it makes it easier for them to help you now.
Mic drop on that one. I do think that there is such power in being able to say that you are in a position today and tomorrow it could be you that has the need, right? And so I want you to be mindful of that, right? It might not be the person who works with you today, but it could be somebody that you call on or someone sitting in this room. So networking is always so important. So I'm not going to get on the networking soapbox today, but really want to make sure that you can tap into it through the Black in HR Network to learn how to build and grow your network. So that's also in our vault. All right. So we're going to move forward. We're going to ask one question from the outplacement process. P, I'm gonna have you answer that one, and then we'll move into Q&A. All right. So, P, what should you expect from a company's outplacement services? And then tell us a little bit about what outplacement services are.
So outplacement services are typically what your organization will provide you to help in your transition. So that could be working with some organization that can help you with your resume, interview prep, maybe match you with some opportunities. This is very common. This is something you should negotiate within your severance as well. We didn't really go down certain things, but outplacement is a big value to you. And I know that everyone's looking at AI and Gemini and ChatGPT as a way to find a job, but it's nothing that can replace an actual coach. They have connections, they have understanding. They could read your background and say, hey, I know this, you don't think this is a big deal, but we want to highlight this more on your resume. We want to talk about this more. So have your employer pay for your outplacement services, or ask them if they offer that. And if they do, ask them who it is with. It does matter, right? I think cultural relevance does matter. And so be thoughtful of who you work with, who do you put your career in the hands of. In Black in HR, we offer outplacement services. We routinely, because our members are HR leaders, our coaches are HR leaders, we can work with your resume and then say, hey, by the way, one of my colleagues who's an HR leader here has this opening, let me send it over to you. Yep. That's a passive benefit and a passive reason. So more, again, even if it's not through us, make sure your company at least can give you that benefit. It'll be a tremendous help. Coaching is expensive. You guys know that. So if they can pay for it, take advantage of that resource.
All right, so we'll move into Q&A. We'll start here and we'll zigzag up and then we'll zigzag back down. All right, right here.
Okay. So, about you're mentioning referrals at one point, and how some people, you say you didn't ask for people like, give me your background, blah, blah, blah. How common is that? Because I think I'm running into that where I'm like, I don't know if I should ask this person for a referral because they're not like, they know me that well.
Yeah.
And like, does it become an issue if you are referring too many people at like the same organization, where they start like relying on you as a source for candidates? If that becomes an issue, I don't know if it is. People act like that's an issue, so I'll just ask.
Yeah, so people are uninformed with that. So typically it'll be a link. A lot of times the link, and it's easy. But even the way I would do it with Netflix, like I would, in the Black in HR Facebook group, I say, hey guys, here's my email address, ppowell@netflix.com. You see a job, don't say, pray that can you find me a job. Say, hey, I saw this job, here's the link. I would just simply do my referral, send an email to the recruiter, say, hey, here's Sierra's resume. I know her from a community of diverse professionals. I think she'd be a great candidate. I'm going on my day. That was all day. My Netflix email address was everywhere. Because it doesn't matter. It's not my job to vet you. It's the recruiter's job and the hiring manager's job. And so they saw that as I was a valuable resource. I was someone who could bring in diverse talent. And so I don't think you should worry about that. And if you are somebody who's apprehensive of referring people, just again, we talked about this. It may not be you now, but it will be you one day. It's just how it is. I promise you, if you're in tech long enough, you're going to get hit with a layoff. So build your relationships with people, be known as a connector, be known as someone who's willing to refer other people without questions.
And just from a company standpoint, I don't necessarily think companies have limits on what people can refer. At least I haven't seen that in my career. So that shouldn't be an issue for the person who's referring you.
Hi, good afternoon. I have a question regarding a PIP. Is it worth it to challenge a wrongful PIP?
Yes.
Or just that prepping for, what could potentially happen? Because at the end of the day, an HR may not care about what I have to say and are trying to protect the company or even the boss, but in this case, they're not even listening. They just take what the boss says and moves with it. So is it worth it to challenge it or wait till something happens and then use it then?
I mean, I think we all got.
I was just going to say that I don't think it's always like that. For me, just the HR professional, I do work for the organization but I work for the people too. So I want to be very clear that all HR people are not like that. And anyone who I have come in contact with, even if I laid them off to this day, they are like, Arnisha, thank you, because I may have laid them off, but I also referred them to other places. When it comes to a PIP, I think if the PIP is wrong, you should say that it's wrong. You should challenge the PIP. You know, no matter what you feel or what they feel the outcome is going to be, you should definitely challenge it. It's been plenty of PIPs that were challenged where it ended up not going the way that the person thought. They didn't get laid off because we investigated, we found some things, right? So don't just roll over, challenge it.
And it should be on the premise of, again, right, speak out and don't suffer in silence,
Correct.
right? So from a PIP standpoint, there are different things. I mean, it should be, for the majority of the time, right, there should be clear expectations of what you should be doing. There should be specific touch base points, right? There should be a frequency of documentation. These are things that are standard across all HR spaces, right? So regardless of the industry you're in. So if those things are not happening, that is a deviation of the process. And make sure you are voicing that out, right? There are different ways where those kind of things get investigated, where the company could be in the wrong, and you don't want to take the fall for that on something that's not necessarily your fault. So definitely advocate for yourself when it's not going properly. Don't just take it for what it is.
I want to speak to that also, just super quick. Full moment of transparency. I actually was put on a PIP myself and was able to survive that, mainly because I challenged it. There were some things in there, to me, my PIP was more so, there are some accountability points. Could I have been doing a better job? Yeah. Was I not? Yeah, and I got called to the carpet on it, right? But there were some things in there that were just not, I wasn't gonna roll over and stand for that. Now, I had to get a coach because I couldn't work up the nerve to challenge it. You know, I was nervous, I was afraid it was going, let me just take it and sit over here and be quiet for my next 30 days so I can try and make it through. But the more I slept on it, the more upset I got because I knew it wasn't right. And so I went ahead and challenged it, ended up surviving my PIP, and then the person who put me on a PIP got put on a PIP. Boom. Because it wasn't true. You know, there were some things in there where now we found her gaps. You tried to point mine out, and now we've identified gaps on you. So always challenge that if you know it's wrong. On the flip side of that, if you know you got some work to do, get it together.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, so sorry. We are strapped for time. They are going to be hanging around. Yes?
We're gonna hang around.
We're gonna hang around.
Can we stay down here?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool.
Make some noise for the panel, please. Please. So, in lieu of these bright moments, where we're receiving great information, it adds to the day, it makes the day a brighter day. Amen? AV, a brighter day.
Brighter day.
Thank you so very much. We love you. We appreciate you. To the panelists, thank you for your time. Thank you so much, y'all.